giving students the ideas, helping them construct their own ideas, facilitate some knowledge that they might need, and then just giving them time to work on those projects. My whole lessons are based around the 4 C's: communication, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. My students, who I need the feedback from the most.
Phil Long is the head of STREAM for the Arcadia British School.
Definitely one thing that I've learned is just like slow down, and less is more when it comes to critical thinking. STEM is a fantastic way to enable that stepping back, enabling students to explore that and become the learners that we want them to be in that moment and in the future as well, and enables them to take risks, to get things wrong, to learn from people on the table rather than the person who puts the hand up fastest.
Phil, thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
No problem. Yeah, my pleasure. Delighted to be on the podcast, sharing, what we're doing over here at Arcadia, and hopefully some of your listeners can take away some ideas and implement it into their classroom.
And I'm really curious what STREAM is, because I've never heard of it. And you corrected me, it's not STEAM, it's STREAM. Okay, that's something new for me now.
Well, I think like any acronym, it's always getting added to, just like any role, any school role. As any teacher out there would know that we're always getting more things put on. But actually, it's quite an exciting kind of advancement, I think, for the subject. So stream, science, technology, robotics is the R, engineering, art, and maths. And now I'm hearing words like streamer or steamer, so we're adding some extra letters on there. That's kind of on the circuit as we kind of tag more things on. I think one of them is environment, so environmental awareness, and R, which is something I'm really passionate about as well. It would be reading as well. So like streamer, I think the
Okay,
subject can
nice.
encompass multiple subjects and make it really exciting. Yeah, so that's what the acronym for stream is. And obviously as we go through this, we can break it down what it looks like in the classroom, and hopefully give some ideas for the listeners of how they can implement some of the the tools into their class, really, to helping promote the collaboration amongst their students and critical thinking, which is basically what it comes down to.
And when you start coining new terms and they start echoing back to you, then you know you got the the term right. You
Yeah,
got it right. Yeah,
definitely.
beautiful, beautiful. So tell me a little about your journey, how you landed in this position and how you came to be the head of Stream and coining new terms and being and leading all this team of teachers in what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, so I train as a primary school teacher, and we don't necessarily train as a specialist teacher. But my passion has always been in the sciences. It's something that I've always kind of followed with great interest. Something that's always really motivated me as a teacher. Kind of the science lessons were always the ones, even when I was at school, that I look forward to the most. It's the one that kind of set me up and made me feel alive, really. So I think as I've been a teacher now for 10 years, retrained 10 years ago. Before that, I was a youth and community worker for 12 years. So I've been working with children and young people for a long, long time. And when I trained, I was just retrained to be the primary school teacher. And, schools are amazing places for opportunities for teachers that want to explore their passions, I think. And if you have ideas, and if you're in a really good forward thinking school that wants to let you explore it, then you're given those opportunities. Schools love nothing more than the guy that puts the hand up and then suddenly finds that they've got all the work from the met with other teachers and kind of started to build up this network of people to understand how they were leading science in their school. And then kind of realized that actually a lot of the hands-on exploration, inquiry-based learning was what really brought the STEM or the science lessons to life. And that's kind of where my thinking and praxis took me, I think, over the next few years. So with a very kind of laser sharp focus on the sciences, but more of a traditional science lesson with kind of inquiry based, following the scientific method, but still with this in the back of my mind, how can we get more STEM into classes? And I think the way I started to introduce it into schools probably 7 years ago, when I was the head of science, was we'd have Science Week, but Science Week became STEM Week. Just to, because I think when children have got manipulatives, they've got STEM project-based learning. That's what helps them make the deeper and wider connections with the world, not abstract science. So that's why I think STEM is absolutely critical to the science curriculum. So with that, kind of my passion, my reading grew, my risk taking in my lessons kind of started to come together. I do some really good lessons, or some lessons I was like, oh, that didn't really kind of piece together very well. Let's do some reflection on action, reflection in action, and look at what we can do going forward. And I think over time I started to develop that kind of my own curriculum, which is for my own classroom really, and then share that with different teachers, and try and inspire them to do kind of similar projects within their year groups. So it kind of started off quite small in my school in Thailand, in Bangkok, where was one of my first teaching jobs out there. And then I moved to Dubai and moved to an IB school. So kind of very interested in the inquiry-based learning. I thought that was going to be, the absolute pinnacle, because really STEM is really about project-based learning and following lines of inquiry and being able to discover and learn new information along the way, and really kind of set your own journey. But the teacher facilitates the learning with you and puts you in the right direction. I didn't really do too much in my first school. I kind of just fell back into the role of a classroom teacher and kind of stagnated a little bit for 2 years. Really, I actually took on more of a maths lead because I wasn't really given the opportunity to do anything with the sciences. And then I applied for a job as the science coordinator at Arcadia. That kind of came out as I was transferring school. And I interviewed for the job, didn't get the job as science coordinator. That went to a friend of mine. But as I was talking, I think my passion for STEM came through to our head of primary at the time. And they were like, so the science role is not for you. It's going to be STEAM. It's going to be, and then stream for you. I was like, well, what's this? What's the R? I'd never heard this term before. So I was like, I'll take the job, no problem, and then develop it as we went along. So for the first year and a half, 2 years, I was working as the year 2 teacher, but in the background, developing the stream program, and with a view after 2 years to it being a single level subject across the whole school. So yeah, meeting with suppliers, more training, meeting with people across the UAE, some amazing people, great knowledge across the UAE, and they're just putting together the curriculum really. One thing that's really amazing about our school is that we have an inquiry-based approach now to learning. So we have something that's called the Global Explorers, which actually my wife introduced to the school. That was one of her projects. Again, you've got an idea and you're just told to run with it. But what it did allow us to do was vertically align all of our curriculum in the school, from English, maths, science, and topic, which was history and geography, and give it a real inquiry-based approach. So it went from doing what's best in the PYP and in our school in Bangkok, which was the IPC, the International Primary Curriculum, and brought it into this British school. And we don't have the IPC, we're not an IB school, but we brought all the tools and best practice of inquiry based into the school. So then what that enabled me to do was then structure because then I became the STEM teacher, stream teacher here at Arcadia, was develop all my lessons around the global explorers. So for example, if we're learning about the Vikings, we're doing shipbuilding, we're doing weapon and tool building. That's one example there. If we're doing the Mayans, we might be doing a map all around Mayan civilization, but we actually build it and construct it, and it become like a marble game. Then we might put an element of robotics in there. But it's all about students doing their own design work. So we're bringing in a lot more drawing, because we found that children actually aren't very good at drawing. They're losing a lot of those skills, I think. So bringing in the design, giving them the materials, or actually they're sometimes bringing in their own materials. And then, just facilitating them, coaching them along the way, so they can actually build on their ideas and their ideas of the other students. But then for me, that's only one part of it.
Mhm.
The most important thing that we get out at the end of it is kind of week 7 really. It's like a 7-week learning cycle. That's how long I see the students for each time. We have a double lesson, so we have a 90 or 100-minute lesson, and that's the way we've had to structure it to get all of it into one lesson. We have a presentation.
Is the period of the cycle
Yeah,
of the
cycle.
project?
Yeah, yep. So students will then work on week 7 within their group or with their partner, whoever they've been working with, and they'll prepare their own presentation and they'll present their whole learning to the class. And that really, and we see a different presentation from every single student. And that's really where light bulb moments go on for the students, and they realized how far they've come in their journey just from being able to use and manipulate different resources and express they're learning things that they're bringing in from Global Explorers, what they're doing from English, the book that they're reading, how their
Mm.
maths questions are building on. And so it all comes together and they're presenting, and you could just see these light bulb moments of students just lighting up and being really proud of the physical piece of work that they produce, because students love to build. In fact, humans love to build. We're naturally builders. We naturally
Exactly.
engineer. We love to put things together.
Engineers.
Engineers, that's what we do. That's how we've evolved civilization so quickly. So certainly within recent times, and just enabling students to do that more often, just helps them make those connections with the world, and it's so powerful for their learning. And that's why I believe that I'm a single subject teacher, but I believe that all teachers are STEM teachers if they implement a STEM mindset into their classroom. It's not something that you need these revolutionary skills for to be a STEM teacher. You just need to have a passion for stepping back, not wanting to
Exactly.
control the whole class, and have it did like this. It's just about giving students the ideas, helping them construct their own ideas, facilitate some knowledge that they might need amongst the class, and then just giving them time to work on those projects, and then go around, and then you'll see full engagement in your class. And then that's where you can start to plant the higher and level deeper thinking questions with the students. You'll find that you have more time for each student because you're just letting them work on their projects and develop
Exactly. You can
that
see,
way.
observe what they're struggling with, and then just
Yeah.
check in with them and see
Yeah,
where.
ask them questions. Look at, I always say three before me. So ask yourself, ask your partner, ask a friend, and then you can come and ask me. I think, and they generally find that after step two, they're able to solve what problem it is. And if there's still stuff, of course, that's when I can go in and not even always show them, but just start to ask different questions that they might not have been able to ask themselves, so they can kind of go full circle and solve that problem themselves. But then if they're really stuck, of course, we'll show them, especially as they're younger, with the year ones and year two students that we work with.
Beautiful, beautiful. And for a teacher who is afraid to take this risk and take this leap into allowing the students to do the work, what is your advice?
Good question. I think my advice is to understand that you're not going to get it right straight away or every single time. My advice is to start small. I have a workshop, and you can obviously see that on my LinkedIn, called STEM in 10. It's any single subject that you have, any class that you're running, you can take that, you can start with that STEM activity and build your whole learning around it, and just in just 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
that's part of that is only students 7 minutes on the actual activity. And you will be amazed by what students can create with just Lego or magnet tiles in just 7 minutes, to show their understanding of a task, sticky notes, the labeling things, the building, the constructing, these conversations that they're having between them, because they know that they've got a very small specific amount of time, 7 minutes generally, and then 3 minutes to feedback to another group. That's a 60-minute lesson that teachers are quite often trying to deliver from the front of the lesson. Students already have most of the vocabulary that they think that you're going to teach them for the lesson. It's already in there. They've already heard those words before. And by
Yeah.
allowing them to have that hands-on manipulatives where they can demonstrate what they know, one, they'll bring out that vocabulary. They don't even need to teach it. Two, they'll identify their own gaps in their knowledge, and so will you as the teacher, just by going around and seeing it. And then three, once that's away, that's where you can then focus your teaching, because you know exactly where the students are at, what they know, what they don't know. You can say, right, I want you to carry on with that activity and show me a bit more. You guys are going to come over here. We're going to do a little bit of knowledge. We're going to practice. You guys are going to practice some questions, and just having that as the starting point, or a kind of a mid activity after a little bit of your input, is a great place to go. And I think as teachers, we feel that we have to control every part of the lesson, and I think we worry that about giving children good amounts of thinking time. We think they always have to be busy. They always have to be doing the work exactly that I've set them. But actually, no, our best ideas come when we're given time to think. Now, we know this even as adults. In the
Powerful.
morning, when we're having our coffee, or if we're getting ready, or if we're in the shower, that's when our thinking time comes. When we've not got all the noise around us, no one's telling us exactly what we need to know or what we should do. And I think as teachers, we need to just take that and understand that, and just give students time to just talk through and work with their ideas in a safe space on their table, or if it's just an individual task as well. So I think by stepping back, we're actually stepping forward. and it allows the teacher space to have that reflection in action moment. Whereas if you're trying to control all the different parts of the lesson, there's no way you can reflect on what's happening in your lesson because you're not giving the time or the breathing space for yourself or for the students.
What you're sharing is so beautiful and so useful. And lots of teachers haven't discovered it because they never allowed these spaces in their lessons. So they've never seen it, observed such a thing happening in their classes because they just didn't have time for that.
I don't necessarily think it's that they didn't have time. I just think they've never been shown. Or when we're doing our teacher training, okay, teacher training is quite similar across the world, from curriculum to curriculum. That's why if you go to an international school, we've got teachers from Canada, UK, Asia, Europe, all the different continents. There's generally a fairly agreed teaching style, and I think that's because I think English national curriculum quite often is seen as a good model for training, and a lot of people try and follow that model. And it doesn't teach inquiry;
Yeah,
it teaches knowledge, and that
yeah,
kids have to learn this knowledge and have to regurgitate it in a test.
yeah.
So we only know what we know, right? And that's those are our blind spots. And I think being able to observe, other teachers that are trying this, having a triad where you get together, the three of you, where you try things and you feed back to each other. That's a really organic way to try and grow your practice and develop your toolbox. Because I guarantee you, once you've tried this stuff, you'll be like, I feel a bit silly never having done this, done it like this before. My whole lessons are based around the 4 C's: communication, creativity, uh, critical thinking, and collaboration. All of it. That's our starting point for it. And I kind of direct the students. That's probably one of my biggest directions. It's like, right, this is the creative task. This is over to you. Or they very clearly know when we're collaborating with each other because we use the Kagan structure for collaboration. So all of our collaborative exercises are done using different Kagan strategies, and students are so well rehearsed now because they do that in their classes that they understand the importance of collaboration. Obviously, communication with collaboration comes communication. This is the biggest area that students find difficult within the
Mm.
class because they don't always know how to express themselves, but we're also not giving students enough space to be able to express themselves. So robotics is a great example for this. And we're just using Matata Lab at the moment. And students are learning about Dubai, and we set them off. We've created a booklet for them to go and solve these challenges. And they're in a little group, and they're finding it really difficult to work together as a group because they're new, they're learning it, they're young. And this person's trying to take on this role, they're communicating, they're collaborating a little bit, and they're finding a lot of level of challenge. Within 10 minutes, we stop, we come together, we sit down. Right, let's just talk about, forget about the coding. Let's talk about the
Mm.
forces.
Mm.
How are you communicating with each other? As soon as that goes there, this relief goes from the children. Like, I'm not, and they realize straight away they're not communicating very well because they're not listening and they're not sharing. And because they're not listening, they're not giving the right ideas. So which means they're not communicating. I say, right, you're going to spend the next couple of minutes just talking through what you're going to do when you get back. How can you solve that task better? This is 7-year-olds. They come with a little plan together, and as soon as you drop them back into the activity, they are off. They know exactly what they need to do, and they're able to solve the problems really, really quickly. So yeah, that's why we use the 4 C's really as the starting point for all of our learning.
And what a wonderful life skill to have at 7. You will never lose that skill.
Oh, we started with the 5-year-olds.
5-year-old.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're starting with the year one students. Yeah, the year ones as they turn 5 into 6. So
Nothing, yeah, nothing will ever convince you to lose that skill, right? Over something else. Because
skills are much more important than knowledge, because knowledge we can get is our fingertips. We've got the devices, we've got the computers. We don't need all this knowledge in our head. Knowledge is important, of course, because that helps us make the connections with the world. But we don't need to know all of these dates in our head. The whole timeline of British or American history. We can get that. What we need is the skills to be able to solve problems, to be able to communicate, to show ourselves, creatively. Those are the skills that we're going to need in the workplace, because all the most of the jobs that our students are going to be doing, they don't even exist at the moment.
Mm.
Those jobs have not even been created yet. Digital detox advisor,
Yeah. Yeah.
mission control supervisor.
Yeah.
These are going to be general jobs that go out. Director of AI. This is going to be a job, that you just apply for, and normally that we think, "Whoa, those are huge jobs." Space tourism director to Mars. These are going to be jobs, and if they haven't got these skills, learn about the Vikings or the Romans is completely irrelevant. What they need to be able to do is be creative, to be communicative, critical thinkers, be able to
Yeah.
communicate with all those people from across the world, because it's going to be a global response. People are going to be working internationally like we are now. You're in Greece, I'm in the UAE. 15, 20 years ago, we would never have been having this conversation. And that's just
Exactly.
technology.
Exactly. And we're learning from each other so much. And this is a beautiful opportunity for the educators to learn and have this breakthrough that what I'm bringing in class, if it's information alone, they don't need me. I'm redundant. Like, what can I bring to them that is going to be powerful and useful for them in their when
Exactly.
they're 20s and 30s?
Yeah. So
And
the
tell,
biggest
tell
the
yeah,
biggest learning we can do with students is to make them really good learners. Obviously, we want to teach them, in all the English skills. A good learner is able to communicate, and English, sorry, not English, because depends the language, but reading, writing, very, very important skills. Always going to be important skills. A good level of numeracy, being able to see numbers and manipulate numbers.
yeah,
Understanding the sciences, what it means, and how we connect with the world, but not
mm,
have you need all of that knowledge, because it's
yeah,
just there. What we need to be able to do is process that knowledge and be able to use it. And I think the job of the teacher is to teach and facilitate those organic learning experiences for all our learners throughout all of our subjects.
yeah. I want you to walk me through a struggle you had that made you like go really down and reconsider, restruct yourself, and then what breakthrough you had after that.
I think certainly I'm no expert in this subject. I'm always learning, and I'm always evolving. I had a lesson observation last week, and sat down with our head teacher, and we deconstructed the lesson. The lesson was very good. But one thing I think I'll come back to your question in a minute, but what I want to say is just be really vulnerable in your class to your students. And one thing that was picked out for me is that my students are who I need the feedback from the most. Not somebody that comes into my class every 12 weeks and gives me a grade. That doesn't really matter. They're only seeing 50 minutes out of probably 300 minutes of learning. What matters to me is the feedback from the students in front of me. So if I try new activities, and I'm making my own judgments of how it's going, I'm going to, after the activity, I'm going to stop. I'm giving them a post-it note, and we're doing some paper work. I want some feedback about whether that activity was useful for you or not. Did you get what I thought you were going to get from it? What did you take? How did you feel? Was it a good use of 10 minutes, or shall we not use it again, or shall I use it with the next class? So I think really show that level of vulnerability, and take that feedback from those students, because like I said, that opportunity to have reflection in action helps get you through those struggles and realigns where you want to go in that class. And I think that's something that I'm really starting to bring my mind round to more as I get more confident teaching, STEM and stream lessons, is just saying to the students, this is the first time I've done this. I'm doing Formula Ethara Yasin schools for the first time this year. It's something we brought in. I've never done it before. It's great. I
Yeah,
love the idea of what it's going to do for our STEM project. I said to the year fives, we're doing it with the year fives. Guys, I'm building the car with, I'm meant to be the expert showing them how to build the car. I'm doing it for the first time. Give me the space to learn with you. And I tell you what, as soon as you're open with students and you're not sweating because you've got 24 or 25 sets of eyes on you, you just tell them, like, I'm going to figure this out with you. And then I'm going to show you just you'll find that those struggles just leave
mm,
you, because you're
mm,
having a
mm,
really open, honest discussion with the students. And when they see that vulnerability that you're learning with them, the level of respect that you gain from them It's just
Mm,
it's a really organic. 'Cause I keep coming back to this word, but it's just this two-way reciprocal learning, and Paulo Freire, phrase it where this reciprocal learning process where every student is the teacher and every teacher is the student. And I'm learning from the students as I'm doing these projects. What I do this year will be different to next year because I'm learning
yeah,
from them. I'm learning from all the time, and even from lesson to lesson. Sometimes I teach the same lesson 3 times a week. What we start off with on Monday might not be what we finish with on Thursday, just because of the way the conversations have gone, and
yeah. And
that
what
enables
happens
me
in
to take
their
away
head?
the.
What happens in their head and in their heart when you ask for their support, for their advice, and you show your vulnerability?
They
What
feel
happens?
empowered. They feel empowered. They realize their worth to you as they feel valued. They know that you're giving them the time and that their opinion is important. And as a result of that, you're going to take it and they're going to work hard for you because all
Excellent.
students want the recognition of their teacher and they want the teacher to hear them. And they want the teacher to action what it is that they're sharing with you. And I think don't just be tokenistic and take the feedback and just say thanks for that. Let's tick a box. No, let's
Mm,
use it. Let's move forward with it. And I think the response that you get from it, everyone's calmer. You're calmer. You're more relaxed. When you're more relaxed, you can think more freely. And yeah, you're just going with the lesson. And I always say like don't have a fixed play exact spot of where you want to get to by the end of the lesson because
mm,
you'll be accelerating your lesson to get to that point, and you'll be missing out all of these things that we've discussed as part of this podcast. So, yeah, I think that's definitely one thing that I've learned is just like slow down. Less is more when it comes to STEM and to developing critical thinking. And we've got all this content to get in, but students don't remember it. When I was at the guest conference this week, I met Gavin McCormack, huge influencer. I'm sure you know who he is. And we
yeah.
sat down with him for I think about 3 or 4 hours. We went out for dinner, and there's a little group of us with Darren Cox and Alex Gray and lots of people, and we're just going backwards and forwards. And he's done a lot of research with one of the top neuroscience experts in the world for 6 months, 2 hours every other day, just picking into how our brains learn and how we make connections. Um, and we just talked about this level of vulnerability and the importance of connection. Our skin is the biggest organ in our body, and it's where we receive the most amount of information. Our hands have 13,000 receptors, that process information at any one time. We've only got 2 ears and 2 sets of eyes, but how we touch things is how we form our opinions of the world. And enabling students just to touch and manipulate resources just enables them to fire their brain up and able so they can understand what you're actually saying to them and what they're actually seeing in the lesson. And I think just by understanding some of the theory and the science behind how children learn just enables us to just become better and stronger practitioners and not always get it right, of course,
Mhm, mhm.
but build on that learning. And by knowing that students are learning, that you're learning and showing that vulnerability, it's just for me, it improves my practice tenfold. Um,
Mhm, mhm. And what I'm picking from this conversation is that we should allow ourselves to make mistakes
yeah,
so that
cool.
students see us making mistakes and they allow themselves to make mistakes.
Okay.
And to my mind, the mission of the school should be to make students comfortable with making mistakes, nothing else. Like you come
100%.
here, be okay with making mistakes, make so many mistakes that you're not afraid to make mistakes when you're 18 and 20.
Exactly. I
And
mean, what is a classroom if it's not a learning environment for all?
yeah,
It has to be everybody in that room has to be learning all of the time. Some will learn more, some will learn less, and that's okay. Not
yeah,
all children are going to get to the same point. We have all this pressure to get students to a certain point by the end of the year. But I will always say, education's a journey. For me, it's been a lifelong journey where I found that I was a slow learner at the very beginning. I didn't even learn to read or write until I was 8.
mm,
Oh, and then the UK system demands that it's 4 that you start to learn to read, 4 or 5. I was very late, very, very late. And as a result of some of that, I found it a little bit difficult. But I've gone on to do all right, done my degree, done my PGCE. I'm doing my masters now. It just takes time, and I just understand that it is a journey, and different learners are going to get there at their own pace, but everyone will get there in the end. And we're in school for 14 years, 15 years, even longer if we go to university. And every single lesson, but we put so much pressure on to get to these certain milestones. But 1 hour out of 14 years is such a small little nugget. And we have to just be able to take that lesson and just grow it so that students are
Yeah,
taking those 4 skills and being able to
yeah,
apply it over the 14 years and just compound it, because they'll become really good learners at the end of it.
yeah. And even sharing our learning journey with our students is a beautiful learning opportunity for them
Mhm.
because they see themselves in that journey, that it's not going to be successful always. There are
Yeah.
going to be struggles and they're going to be like hitting walls. But if you're an explorer and then you learn to become an engineer, then nothing can stop you, right?
Exactly. I had some of my classes. Obviously, when I was at conference this week, I had to rearrange some classes and get some cover for some. But I just had my students this morning say, "Oh, Mr. Long, where were you last Tuesday? Like, we missed you. You weren't there." And I said to them, I was like, "Well, it's important for me. Obviously, I'm teaching you, but I was being taught by other teachers. I was learning from them, so I can bring that background and give you a better learning opportunity. Because it's important that I continue to learn, and learning never stops. Learning never
Exactly.
learn all your life, and you can just see the year ones and twos there going, oh, that's good. That's important.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll see you next week. And I just think by sharing that with them, and they just understand that you're continuously growing yourself, and the teacher that you are now will not be the teacher that you are in 2 or 3 years or 4 or 5 years. But all you can be at the time is the best version of who you are. And just understand that you are growing, and try not to get frustrated, I think, with yourself, but just be open to that learning, and understand that you are on that journey. And who I am now will not be who I am in 10 years. I'll look back, I'm sure, and go, what was I doing there? Like, why was I doing that? Because now I know these things, and that's exciting. But trying to enjoy all the steps along the way, I think, is equally as important.
And that's so liberating for the like other teachers, educators who are listening to us, but and for the students for sure. It's liberating because we are on a learning journey. We are under construction at every moment of our lives,
Yeah.
and just embrace that. Just
Yeah.
embrace that. And
Education is like
like,
one of the most powerful tools, isn't it? I think. And what's really nice is I always feel inspired by people that do a lot of like personal reading, and that's one of the reasons I decided to do like my masters, because I was doing a lot of reading outside of just like general interest, really, like academic journals and stuff. And I was like, well, I probably should use this reading to actually enhance my credentials and try and focus my research. And that's what's really nice. If you become a good learner, that's all we can teach students to become, really, ultimately, at the end of the day.
mm,
Um, they will find their own path. They will continue to grow themselves and grow and enhance their careers going forward, because you've equipped them with their skills for 14 years to be able to enter the workplace and be adaptable there. And I personally think that's one of the biggest gifts that you can give to children. Obviously, along that journey, they're going to learn a lot as well. STEM and enables is a fantastic way to enable that stepping back, and then
mm,
enabling students to explore that and become the learners that we want them to be in that moment and in the future as well. And enables them to take risks, to get things wrong, to learn from people on the table rather than the person who puts the hand up fastest. um,
yeah. I think educators are afraid of STEM because they think that they have to prepare everything for the students,
mm,
and they had it in their head like something huge. How am I going to prepare all those lessons for 6 weeks or 9 weeks, whatever the context you're working on? But it's the opposite, right?
yeah,
It's exactly the opposite. You just need to be a good observer and a
yeah.
facilitator.
good observer, good facilitator, and just have, it doesn't have to be expensive resources. This is what I'm saying. Obviously, I've got an amazing STEM room here where we've got a lot of resources because we have it as a single subject. That's not the
Yeah.
case for 95, 99% of schools across the world
Yeah.
at all. But that doesn't mean that students shouldn't be doing STEM activities. So it's just a case of planning for hands-on learning that enables
Mm.
students to construct, engineer,
Yeah.
present, and then you'll find the writing that comes in alongside that because they're interested in it, and solve problems.
Mm.
Lego or building blocks is one of the easiest materials that you can give to students. Show me what you know.
Yeah.
When they're showing you what they know, they're also showing you what they don't know.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
then where you come in as a teacher.
Yeah.
Too many lessons are just telling students what they already know.
Yeah.
Should be telling you what they don't know and showing you what they don't know. Um,
The
sorry, go on.
Yeah. The journey you've taken us on is so interesting for me and so valuable for educators. And do you offer like workshops or CPDs for educators who are interested in STEAM or STREAM or STEAMer, the new?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Obviously, I hope you can tell I'm very passionate about this. And I feel really passionate about giving, just starting teachers off. So across the UAE or in the last 12 months, it's been really, really busy doing a couple of different workshops. So 2 workshops that I really focus on. One is if you want to have a STEM curriculum in your school. I
Yeah.
think STEM rooms are going to become, if you think back 20 years ago when the computer lab was the main thing on the school tour. Oh, we got the computer lab. Schools that didn't have them, students didn't join. STEM, everyone's going to have a STEM lab soon. Okay. So I
Okay.
think teaching students and leaders how to actually map and start a curriculum. I can
Mm.
do that. I've been doing that for the last 12 months, working with different schools, and where to start, where to get to, what have they got. Every school is different because they have a different curriculum. The students learn about different things, and they have different levels of resources and different teachers, varying levels of qualification, very different. So I can help schools map that out with what they've got, help them develop their
Apply
curriculum.
the principles.
Apply the principles, exactly. Just map out what they've got, create schemes of work, and then identify the resources, what they have, what they might need as they want to grow their curriculum, and then let's get going. Let's just learn along the way. Let's chop this, let's add that. Let's just be reflective practitioners. And then there's the other workshop which I've been doing. How long have I been going on this? Just since the summer. So we've been doing the mapping, and that made me realize that actually it's not just about the big curriculum. How can we come into schools, train the history teacher, the geography teacher, the primary school teacher, the computing, the science, the performing arts teacher? How can we get STEM into all of those lessons? So it's called STEM in 10. It's a 50-minute workshop. We look at some of the theory behind it. We do some very hands-on practical activities. They realize straight away that they can do this. It's actually very easy. They've done it before. They've never really thought that they were doing STEM, and it's something that they can. The very next lesson they go to, they can just start implementing very basic STEM STEM into their lessons. So we can do that. That's not a problem. I'm very, very passionate about it. And I think this is where education is going to be heading. And as part of that STEM in 10, we can put in the AI, because that's obviously one of the big things that we're doing working on right now. So very simple tools. I can get AI in there, identify the resources, very, very cheap, very, very cheap. Help them construct any templates that they might need to help scaffold some of the learning, write some of the questions that you might want to lead with as the facilitator to help promote that critical thinking. Demonstrate Kagan, because most people don't even use Kagan strategies for collaboration. Give them some of those tools, and then you're just off, and you're teaching your practice in very simple ways that you didn't even know that you had inside you. All right, so
Yeah.
that's for
Yeah.
me. We can do that. I
Yes.
love doing it.
So
So
yes,
let's do
just
it.
50-minute workshop can just the starting point. Just get started, and
Yeah.
then you'll find so many
We
other
can
ways.
work further. We can work further than that. Teachers are very smart, educated people. They can figure out what works for themselves and what works for their school and their students.
Mm.
And then before you know it, you get this snowball effect,
Yeah.
where it just picks up and gathers momentum. The students here at this school, STEM is their favorite subject because they enable themselves to express themselves.
That's
You know,
evident. That's
yeah,
evident.
It's we did the survey, it's the most popular subject. And that was after year one. And it's not because I'm doing anything, honestly, I'm not doing anything revolutionary, just empowering the students to take charge of their own learning. Because that's all students want. They want that autonomy. They don't want to just be talked to. They want to say, right, what do you need me to do? Give me a few things to work with. And I'll show you what I can do.
I wish everybody could like embody this. Teachers don't
They
need to
can.
know.
They can. Everybody can do that. Everyone can do that. I believe that
Can do that.
everybody can do that. We all have the capacity as teachers
Yeah.
to learn and to evolve and be able to do that. And like I say, it's just been sometimes for us, it's just been shown the way and practicing, taking those risks, being
Mm.
open to vulnerability. Um,
Thank you so much, Phil, for this conversation. It's been amazing, and you walked us through what like a teacher needs to do now. And I think everybody, like whoever is listening to this podcast, has one starting point, and
yeah,
then there is no ceiling to that after that. So for the final part of this podcast, I'd like you to play a game with me
very
and
excited.
game with my guests. So I have this list of books that I'm currently reading or I want to read.
Yeah,
And I
I
want you
think
to pick
I
one
think
of the books.
I'm gonna go for the green one, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind.
Okay.
Sorry to go to the bottom. It's a very big pile of books. Probably should have gone from the top.
Okay, this is Vision Like Honey.
It's the one that
And I want you to pick a page.
I'm going to go for page 72.
72. And a line, and I will explain what we're going to do with it.
We're going to be line number 10.
10. Okay. So I'm going to read line 10 and the context around it, maybe a couple of sentences. And then we will just stay in that and see how this resonates with what we are doing. Okay. Okay. We'll also explore how we can become more aware of our hidden models and then how to swap the unhealthy ones with updated models. The first step is to discover how we take on these models of reality.
I think this is what we've been talking about, isn't it? I think, wow, I mean, it's very powerful, isn't it? That's literally what we've been talking about for the whole podcast here is, stripping away our practice and just not taking the best parts of us
Mm,
and getting rid of the bits that make us feel uncomfortable.
yeah.
The bits that we know we don't teach very well at. We all have those bits. You think, right, I've got to teach this bit of lesson, but I really don't like it. I hate
Mm,
this bit of lesson. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't really know the area very well, and I'm blagging it a little bit, but hopefully the students won't notice. Of course they notice. Okay, so let's just strip it back, throw it away, and let's replace it with something that's going to grow us and grow the students at the same time. And I think that will take you on the journey to discovering your practice and reinventing you as a teacher, and helping your students achieve what it is that they can achieve along their journey. So I think that was a beautiful quote, and I think how amazing that it underpins everything that we've been talking about.
yeah.
Take those risks, strip it all away, and focus and facilitate. Teachers have these gifts of being amazing facilitators, and we always think that we need to teach. We don't need to teach everything. Let's
Yeah.
let the students teach themselves.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to do that. I
Exactly.
think just once is enough.
Yeah.
One time is enough for us to see the other side of the river.
I think so. I think so. Yeah. And honestly, I just feel way more relaxed as a teacher now that I've been able to let go of everything that I was taught. Not everything, but everything that I was told was the best practice in lessons, and just use my own personality. You've got to use your own personality as well, because that's every teacher, every person has their own personality, and to be able to grow that with your students, and just be really present with them, and not thinking about everything else that comes after it, I think, and strip it all back.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful ending for this podcast. Thank you, Phil, for being here with me and sharing all these beautiful, like, you just shared your heart. You didn't share your
Yeah.
knowledge because like knowledge is everywhere.
Knowledge is
Thank you.
everywhere.